Well, this one's going to be fun, isn't it? Welcome to this week's All Things Rugby Show with myself wearing, of course, a Scotland rugby shirt, joined today, as always, by Signor Fordy.
Buongiorno tutti.
Yeah, I mean, I said it when you walked in, you look like you could be an Italian back rower.
Oh, mate, I don't think so. They are, they're on fire at the moment. But
yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah. Good morning, afternoon, evening to Italian social media who have been absolutely destroying us for the past 24 hours, and rightly so. I'm all for it. What an average game, but what an amazing finish, and historic night in Rome. And I'm proud to wear the mighty blue of Italy for today. And what a weekend,
man. Do you know, it was one of those things though, right? If it's anyone else, you're buzzing for Italy. Like, I'm sure you are smirking from ear to ear.
I'm even more buzzing for Italy.
Oh, man, but it just had to be against us, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the majority of people were wrong. And the more I think about it in reflect, obviously hindsight is always 20/20. But again, we'll come on to the sort of the review of the weekend now, I'm sure. But the fallout from the English rugby media, and again, me not being part of that cohort, I was still quite bullish on England winning. I said comfortably, which is, again, in hindsight, completely wrong. But the sort of English arrogance that has come out of it, as far as, should we really be losing to Italy, that sort of sentiment, I don't think is fair. And I thought Italy, at times were just amazing.
I haven't put it on our socials, but we had someone at the press conferences, and they showed me we actually posted the Italian press conference, and it was full to the brim. Like, everyone was in the chairs, everyone was standing, question after question. For the England one, there was 2 people in the press conference. This is pre-game.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't even use the chairs behind the desk. They sat with everyone because it was just like, no one cared. But look, on paper, forget the match.
Right.
In terms of underdog story, right? Like, I obviously go back to, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, Japan beating the Box in Brighton.
I mean, you can't...
Hear me out. That's crazy, right? Yeah. But on paper, Italy have got 2 domestic teams in the URC. One is full of foreign former internationals in Benetton, right? And then Zebra at the bottom.
Right.
They went on the worst losing streak in the Six Nations since joining.
Right.
They haven't beaten everyone. It's the first time they obviously beat England, but they hadn't even completed the set of the Six Nations. They've never beaten the likes of New Zealand in their history. On paper, it honestly is probably the biggest upset of Six Nations history.
I mean, I don't know. I'd struggle with that. But let's come to England, Italy last. It was obviously the pièce de résistance of
the weekend. Leave it.
We're coming to it for sure.
How was the rest of your weekend anyway?
It was good. I mean, it was very rugby filled. Not much else to do at the moment. So it was very much, sofa bound for a lot of the weekend. And I actually quite like, the game on Friday night and all day Saturday. I prefer that to the Sunday game.
Yeah.
But as far I saw Ugo Monye on the broadcast say, is that, for a neutral, is that the best weekend of Six Nations rugby ever?
Yeah, I think the only other one, it's definitely the best non-last day Super Saturday.
Right.
But was it the 20, I can't remember if it was the COVID year or the year after, when it went into the final weekend where 3 teams could win it, but none of them were playing each other.
Okay.
So they all had to outpoint each other.
I imagine, I remember that.
So I think that was like going into like Super Saturday, which Super Saturday is just...
But we're gearing up for that again now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. The fact that we're going into that 5th round, we said at the beginning of the tournament, like everyone did, Grand Slam game, England in Paris, Scotland versus Ireland for me was always going to be like a cracking game. And it is now like, okay, now we're talking. And the fact that you guys as Wales have had 2 weekends of, the result hasn't gone your way, but I mean, the performance is even better than the result against Japan, All
right then, well, let's get into the breakdown. Friday night, Dublin. You can go first this time. How did it meet your expectations?
Obviously, as someone who does a lot of social media, I had that one moment to just hold on to.
Yeah.
Big boy carry, which we'll get to. But look, it was an interesting game. I don't think, and I was chatting to a couple of friends about this, the reason why Ireland are dangerous is because they win when they don't necessarily play the best rugby. And, a year out from a World Cup, that obviously first game kind of would have knocked them. But, they're growing, and I think the whole 10 debate kind of stole a little bit of Ireland's limelight. Ireland are a good side, and the likes of Balakoon, every time he gets the ball, he looks electric at the moment, and they're really coming together nicely, It's not the Ireland of old, and I think we're kind of past that. But when you need a James Ryan moment, a Tyg Berg moment, they're doing it. I think Jack Conan, I've always been a big Conan fan, but he might be one of the most underrated players.
Yeah.
Kind of shifted to 6 because he's obviously not going to push Doris out of 8.
He has now, right? He has now. He's pushed him out.
Yeah, well, he played 6 on the weekend. He had on Friday. He had a try disallowed. He was carrying like a monster. Gibson Park's 50th cap. It's crazy to think he's only got 50. He feels like he's been around forever. And then, as a Ulster are kind of like my second team, or especially my URC team, to see Nathan Doak come on as well. He's been so good for years. He can kick as well. He plays a little bit of 10. But he sat behind Cooney for so long. And it's nice now that Ireland are going, actually, it isn't just a Craig Casey thing. There's a genuine other 9 there as well. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you never know if a team is playing badly or a team is making them play badly. And I thought that Wales kind of made Ireland look a bit blunt at times. And I just thought, obviously I'm going to lean into my Welsh bias. I thought the mindset and the sort of ferocity in defence in particular from Wales was a proper test match, is the old cliche, but they were, I saw on the rugby app, 275 tackle attempts throughout the game. That is a wild amount of volume. And Alex Mann, who I've been quite critical of, for him to go through 32 tackles, Daft Jenkins 27 tackles, both of them 26 tackles, Debbie Lake 23 tackles, only played 60 minutes. And they're big collisions, and I just thought the Wales were so destructive to what Ireland were trying to do, which is kind of playing Ireland at their own game. And I just thought that, the hardest thing for Wales is we didn't appear to have an attack. And there were some monstrous turnovers. There was big moments for Wales where Dewi Lake got that good turnover. There was a moment when Aaron Wainwright ran it back from Cardiff, it looked like. He ran back 60 metres, and it was just...
He heard me talk about Sam Burgess last week, and he was just like, here we go.
I mean, he got buried for his troubles, but it was just that intent, and there's a real sense of belief in the Welsh team. But when we get a turnover, you look at the Italians, and we'll come on to Italy as well, but the Italians and the French, when they get a turnover, their defence to attack transition is unbelievable. They've already got 2 or 3 options from 9 and 10 from a turnover ball. Whereas if you watch it back, Wales almost panic when they have the ball.
Yeah.
And then obviously you had Rhys Carey. He was in that 13-14 channel twice, right? The first time he had a bit of, Shane Williams said on comms, he looks pretty comfortable out there. Almost like very prophetic what he was saying. And then, man, he deserves all the plaudits. I always say to you, he was too fat for Gats, and they really humiliated him.
Yeah.
They made an example of him not hitting KPIs in training. And I know he was, he seems like I saw him being interviewed. He seems like such an affable, gentle guy. But I hope that deep down, he's saying, fuck you to Warren Gatland.
Oh, mate, 100. Listen, I voice noted you straight away, right? Because I was like, oh my God, he's picked it up on the 22. No, he's picked it near enough on the 10,
Yeah.
And the dummy, and the fact that inside him was like Furlong, who obviously we always used to look at Furlong as like the prop that can do other stuff. Oh my God. And then obviously that big smile on his face, probably not realising that Balakoon's hunting him down. But what a moment.
That is pure confidence from a loose head prop. He knew as soon as he pushed that winger away, he was in. Yeah. That's why he was smiling. He knew he was in, and that is a kind of extremely irregular amount of confidence in the outside channels for a loose head prop. If he can get himself to 65 minutes, 44 minutes again, they took him off. And we need...
I mean, he done well to get out of the changing room.
No, I know.
He looked dead.
But you look, props of old, you look at someone like Gethin Jenkins in a Wales setup, he would do that and play 80. I'm not saying he was making breaks in 13-14, but, I just feel that we are really missing that general in the back line. That you look at Finn on the weekend, he sat behind that pocket of forwards all day, telling them to do their job, and then he only bounces out to his position when he feels it necessary. I felt we were missing that. But I think a lot of players there, despite losing, had their best. I thought Eddie James was great again. He made Gary Ringrose, a Lion, look fairly average. I thought Botham was class. Alex Mann was class. I thought the second row again, again we lost. Credit to Ireland. Like they can grind out a defeat. And ultimately they are a better team, I'd say, where they are right now. But to your point earlier, the sentiment from week 1 to week 4 on all teams, England were the best thing since sliced bread. Now they're dog shit. Scotland were Gregor out. Now they're contenders. Wales lost cause, sacked the regions. Now we're green shoots and positivity. It's mad what a fortnight in sports can do.
Oh, we're so just turbulent with everything. No,
crazy.
But look, there's a couple of things here that I just want to quickly note. We'll obviously get on to triggering you with a little bit of TMO chat right after.
Right.
But the fact that everyone's proud of this performance is one thing, and that, don't get me wrong, it's great. But people want to win, right?
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks in a row or 2 games in a row rather. There's a couple of decisions in there that are like, hold on a second, we're looking for the wrong things. Like, arguably, that's an obvious forward pass on the left-hand
100%.
side. And you're sitting there going, well, hold on, you want to check every Tom, Dick and Harry move after. Why are we not looking at these ones?
Yeah, I think that we said this sort of week 1. What is the criteria for a TMO check? They tend to fine-tooth comb every ruck situation, like Thomas Williams' croc roll against Scotland, but they don't really check things like that. And it's the butterfly effect. It's all what ifs. You can't play the ref, and I agree with you. International rugby is about winning, but at the same time, Wales have kind of accepted their fate that we are in transition. So anything from scraping a win and losing against Japan away, that's progress to us. And I think we have to be quite reserved and proud of playing Ireland in Ireland and putting on a better performance than England did in England. We'll take it. We'll take it and carry it forward to next week, and then we've got another big challenge.
What I would say, again, without giving a prediction, all I'm going to say is after experiencing how loud your crowd got, right, a couple of weeks ago, knowing that you've had 2 really good performances, I tell you what, I think they're going to absolutely pack out Principality and completely make it a horrendous atmosphere for Italy next week.
The thing that probably, again, a bit of forward bias, is that I think you can really build a winning team on the back of 1 to 9 that we have. And I think Eddie James is really laying a claim to 12 or 13, whichever they decide for him. But, obviously our most sort of X-factor player isn't getting the ball. The 2 wingers are up for grabs. Probably one of those centre spots is up for grabs. 10 is up for grabs. And we don't have people that can put scores on the board. Yeah. So we have a pack of people and a 9 on front ball that can do really well. And we can do 300 tackles a game, and we can do these destructive things. But, Josh Adams used to be a stone-cold finisher. Now he looks panicked in the wide channels. That's why Rhys Carey's running it in. And you've got, I would say that the Rhys Zammit at 15 experiment is over. He's a winger, and we need somebody that can just be cold-blooded on the wing. But that's our problem.
But then, again, I'm not going to bring up Winnett's name, but who'd you put there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a simple question. No, I'd actually probably rather swap Ellis Mee for Rhys Zammit, just for that stone-cold finisher on the wing. Ellis Mee reminds me a bit of Liam Williams, so that sort of rangy sort of runner. But I don't know. That's a good question. Who plays 15? I have no idea. Blair Murray, they've shared some clips, and Blair Murray's acceleration over 20 metres is just crazy.
Good haircuts throughout the year as well.
Solid lid to follow. But then you can't beat this, and I'll come on to it later, but you can't beat this aerial game that's so prominent in the game now, and he is a short fullback, but so is Halfpenny. These are skills that you refine over time, and I'd be much more comfortable with Rio Dyer on one wing, Lewis Rhys Zammit on one wing, and Blair Murray at fullback. As far as, I feel threatened by that at least. And now we just don't have that.
Yeah. Look, the other one, just to bring up a little bit of an elephant, 2 very good performances. Throw a Jack Morgan in there as well. Is that the bit that you need to just... And obviously, look, injuries are part of it, right? And it's always what ifs. Is that... Knowing that he's coming back, does that leave you in enough good stead now going into, say, Nations Championship, the Fijis of the world, and obviously playing Italy again and Japan, realistically, that might be 3 wins that you're trying to get.
Yeah, I think Jack Morgan walks into any team at the moment. I think maybe not internationally, worldwide, but especially in Wales, he'll walk.
I think England would take him. I'll be honest with you.
But that's not our problem. I thought Botham was class. I thought Mann was class. I thought Wainwright is always class. And I thought that Cracknell played well off the bench, brought some real go forward. So Jack Morgan, of course, goes back into the team, but the person he's replacing isn't a weak spot for us. So the reality is we need somebody to get on the end of tries where we're keeping the score low, but we're not adding to our scoreboard. So green shoots, but the Italians are coming next week.
Yeah, well, look, we'll get to that. Let's go to the second game, which, wow. I kind of wanted to clip up episode 1 where I was bigging up Scotland.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again, and look, they looked at the interview, they were chatting about, like, they've learned how to win these games now when they're ahead. Obviously, what happened against Argentina was good for them, which is, again, I'll get into my saving grace for England, but that's a good thing that's happened to this team. But player for player, 1 to 15 and the bench is now a very, very good squad. But this has been happening, like, and I keep saying this to people, like, I obviously watch a lot of domestic rugby as well, but Glasgow have been going so well, and the bulk of that team is a Glasgow team, you know, and you just sit there and you're like, they are playing so well together. The timing of everyone is awesome. And Finn, you know, like, take not Lions just gone, but Lions 4 years prior.
Make him on for bigs.
And everyone was like, oh, I don't know, he's a bit of a magician, but he's got a complete all-round game. And, you know, like, the fact that even when he does miss a kick, he's just like, all right, next job. And he laughs it off. But, you know, I just think he is phenomenal.
No, I think the good thing about Scotland is that they're tight 5. And we had this conversation about England. They came out with that intensity from minute 1 and they sustained it to minute 80 against England, which is very rare for them. And I said to you last week that if they can get ahead far enough against France, then they're out in the clear. But for Wales, you know, we didn't get a big enough lead against Scotland, so we lost it. But, you know, what you saw on Saturday for Scotland was intensity from 1 to 80 from the tight 5 and the subs. And like you said, I couldn't help but notice the amount of smiling and pissing around from 9 to 15 in the warm-ups. You saw Ben White, and they're literally like they're a bunch of mates playing in the park. But you've got threats absolutely if you were a defender, and again, this is what really baffles me, is that Sean Edwards, if he had hair, he would have ripped it out.
Oh, this is going to be my next thing. 7 tries conceded, right?
Yeah.
And crazy. I think the last time that, like, France had anything like that done to them was obviously against the Box. And without bringing up the Springboks, they are kind of just sitting there, and I put a little post out about, you know, Rassie probably watching this going, this is great for us. But 7 tries against a defence that we said, even against Italy, right? They just stood for 15 odd phases, bang people back. I mean, the size of, even like when they bring on that bench and you're like, you are bringing on kilos. And Scotland just dealt with it.
But I think the thing you would credit France with is that there are 2 sort of real strongholds in the last year. One has been Dupont, as sort of just this sort of magnificent player. And the other thing has been their defence, at least their defensive system. And the thing that would probably drive Sean Edwards mad is that first Stain try came off first phase on the shot. So they actually sussed out their defensive pattern off scrum and they lit them up, off line out, and they lit them up. And then if you look at the tries they let in, you know, Ben White's was a guard dog 1 short side on the ruck.
Fuming.
Raging. And then Darcy Graham was a loose ball, walked it in. So there's actually, you know, and then Dupont, who's their golden boy, threw an intercept. And that one quarterback pass he threw in the dead ball.
Oh, the forward.
I mean, but that, to me, that's a 28-point sway on the 2 things that France have been magnificent at is Dupont and defensive systems. So then you think, that's 28 points that they're not gimmies by any means, but they would be things that, you know, we obviously both sort of suggested France were going to win. But based on those very simple 2 criteria, defensive systems, they are rock solid, especially at guard, especially off first phase. And Antoine Dupont is a magician. And really, you know, Ben White, and they gave him some shit as well, eh? He made him look average at times, apart from his strip of Tui Pilotu.
Oh, but even that.
Yeah.
Like, I tweeted straight away and I was like, this guy can do it all. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that is a blip that they are not going to be happy with. Again, I said this to a mate of mine last night. That's the worst result for England.
Because a wounded animal.
Can you imagine Sean Edwards this week in training? Oh my God. Like, he is going to let rip against us. But
I'll sort of a bit of a tangent, but you look at captains, right? And I'm a big advocate for captains and leaders. And you look at Dewi Lake, I'd run through fire for Dewi Lake. You look at Shuni Tuipulotu, any decision, you'd run through a wall for Tuipulotu. Michele Lamaro, you'd run through a wall for him. And then you look at Dupont, and I'm sure he is a leader in his own way, and he leads by example the way that he plays. But when it started to not go their way, you saw a couple of toys coming out of the pram. And some of those mistakes were his. That intercept, there are a lot, he's obviously a fantastic player, I'm not saying that. But when things aren't going your way, which hasn't happened for a long time for France, you look at your leader, and you look at when he threw that Dan Marino pass in the end ball, you saw him, his lips were like sealed tight. The players looked like, what the are you doing? Nobody could speak back to him. He wasn't corralling the troops. There was never that sort of calming presence. And we'll come on to it in the England game, but a captain is so important when games aren't going your way. And when your captain is doing stupid things, the whole team kind of capitulates. And amazing for Scotland, but to my point last week, they still let them back in. So they still only maintained that intensity for 65 minutes, albeit they were 50 points on the scoreboard. But, 4 tries, 65, 73, 77 and 80 minutes. You got a 26-point sway with the conversion that was missed in 15 minutes. Yeah. So Scotland, they should 100% get as many tenants in their system as possible to celebrate. But not a good day for defensive coaches on either side.
Well, they turned around and, Gregor said afterwards, he's like, no, we're not here to celebrate this. Like, we've got a 6-day turnaround now.
Yeah.
Let's go. Man, next week anything can happen. This is the beauty of it. And this is why, I think the magic of the Six Nations is it's such a momentum competition.
Right.
One foul a week has been a much improvement, I think, because it's just kept that flow. Because we'd have another one now, we're just forget that. One thing I do want to quickly touch on, LBB, 9 Six Nations matches in a row now. He's 22.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
he reminds me of a Welsh prop. His scoring proficiency out wide. No, he's deadly.
And he even set up at a Songba for the next one. That was dangerous when you had both wingers on one side as well, with Ramos as that extra playmaker. Man, obviously fair play to Scotland, right? Incredible. And I was getting messages from before the game going, yep. And they were confident with it, the fans were. But an incredible one. But as I said, it's that wounded animal now.
Yeah.
And England are going to get on it. Oh.
Yeah, but that's about temperament as well, right? So, you'd hope that England is a wounded animal as well.
Oh, no, we're just wounded. Yeah. We've lost all dog in us, right? Look, let's get to it.
Go on.
Let's get to it. I can't believe what I watched. I can't believe it was just so lackluster, right? And I was like, I said last week, I was like, surely that's okay, breathe, lads. What the,
Yeah.
The discipline, we said this before, right? Yellow cards, 2 yellows against you, sending off for Arundel, yellow card, Freddie Stewart, next one, Itoje yellow. You want to talk about your leaders, right?
Yeah.
Itoje is, and look, he was arguably overplayed. He got a little break for Saracens and obviously had a horrendous loss in his personal life. Was this the time that we just go New Zealand model, take a step back?
Yeah, I thought Maro had one of his best games for England I've seen in a long time.
For this comp, yeah. But still.
But in general, they always called him 6-point Maro, right? You're always good for 6 points when Maro's playing. But I guess it's just the nature of the penalty that he gave away. If you were in his team, and obviously he's your captain, so you can't say what are you doing. But that is so amateur. That's such you don't expect that from your captain, and the precedent that sets is just, and given the nature of where you were in the game and where you were on the field, and it was just pointless.
Here's before we get to Italy, and I do really want to give Italy their flowers, 100%. Right? But we said about when you pull people off, after a sin bin in, straight away like he did with Freddie Stewart, or when he pulled Luke Cowan-Dickie off, right? He's got Luke Cowan-Dickie sitting on the bench, who's been to 2 Lions tours, and Jamie George played 70-plus minutes.
The worst thing was they actually wheeled Cowan-Dickie out in their little Pom squad and then didn't let him go on because there was a line out.
So we were winning, I think it was 18-10. Finn put the penalty over, and that penalty was the one that Finn wanted to go for the corner, and Marrow pointed, and then after Finn had a little chuckle with him, and as if to say, like, I think they even said it in the commentary, it's like, shut up, you're doing what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So we're 8 points up, and we've got Marcus Smith. Just put the fucking boy on the pitch, man. Like, got Henry Pollock, right? And you've already had, like, Underhill in the bin as well. He said in the interview afterwards he felt he had to leave Jamie George on with Marrow's yellow, but he's got Luke Cowan-Dickie there as well, and you're just like, oh my God. Chandler can't. Obviously Curry got injured in the warm-up, so Underhill started, and then Chandler Cullen himself. You want to talk about someone that has probably got a rocket up his arse at the moment, going, let me on that pitch and just let me bang someone. I'm not playing. Hey, just so you know, everyone, Harlequins, big shout out. Friendly win against Cornish Pirates.
I was about to say, your Harlequins bias is coming through there. I think at that point, when you're bringing those players on, you were up. So, is Marcus Smith the guy to close a game out? No.
Well, clearly, whoever else was on the pitch wasn't the player either.
No, I get that. But I look, realistically, the crest of a wave of Scotland-France, the game was terrible for 60 minutes. And I think this is what I wanted to say about the England sort of media. The commentary, the amount of glazing going on during that game over bang average skill sets that they're glorifying. To a neutral fan, it is nauseating to watch. And then you get to a point where, even in the fallout from it, and this is my ignorance as well, to be fair, is that man to man, on form currently, do England really have the right to lose to Italy? Man to man, I can't think of many players that are leaps and bounds ahead of the Italians, if not worse than the Italian 15, individually. Like, I would definitely take their centres. I would definitely take their front row.
Are you telling me you don't want Seb Atkinson?
It's a hard day for Seb Atkinson, but even the front row, England have just lost. Again, Wales made them look fantastic in week 1, but really, the Italians, give them some credit. 1 to 15, individually, they are class players. They're world-class players. And then you throw into the mix Menoncello, who is on a different stratosphere to the rest of world rugby and centres in particular. I'm like, would I trade Elliot Daly for Pani? No. Would I swap the centres? No. Even the 10s, Garbis is on more form than Finn Smith, international level. There's an argument for 9s if Mitchell was fit. The pack, apart from Ben Earl, would I swap any of that pack for the Italian pack? No. So really, it's ignorant from us. And then I think it was on the Love of Rugby, they were like, with the players that we've got, with the form that we've got, and with the resources that we have. Okay, I'll stop you there. That's the only reason. The amount of resources means you should be better. But on paper, I thought the Italians they were amazing in the last 20, and I thought Menoncello was the difference from minute 1.
I think the better team won.
100%.
Which hurts because of everything else we just said.
Yeah.
I don't think it was unreasonable for us to sit there going, we've won 12 games in a row, 11 before the comp. We've beaten some big scalps. Prem's in a really good position. The likes of Bath and Northampton are kind of leading that way. And we're sitting there going, no, this is a great squad. We're building depth, apart from centres apparently. Yeah, and then after 2 weekends of really bad performances, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. It's not just like losing, right? Like we said this about Wales. Okay, lose, but there's enough there that you're going, I'll take that. Especially against the head. But fuck me, we do not look like we want to be there. And again, I'm not a professional athlete, right? I'm not sitting there with the weight of England on my chest. But that's what it looks like at the moment. It looks like that shirt is weighing them down completely. And I don't know if that is a coaching. Everyone keeps saying about Borthwick out. Borthwick's going nowhere, right? The amount of money that they spend on Borth, Sinfield, Wrigglesworth to Leicester, right? And also, if he goes, who's coming in? Scott Robinson they're not gonna give Scott Robinson the England job.
Bring back Eddie, mate.
But this is what I'm saying. Everyone's like, I always say this when squads come out. it's all well and good saying, oh, this player should be in or that player. You have to remove someone to put them in.
How much of it is a coaching issue? For me, I would say a lot of it. I couldn't tell you what England's game plan was in attack yesterday. I couldn't tell you what the subs plan was before the game, because they tend to have a subs plan before the game. I couldn't tell you I couldn't tell you really, after 3 games now, again, Wales glorified how they play, but I really couldn't tell you how they're meant to play.
I agree, but let's take the last 2 games, right? It's not like Borth has gone to George Ford, oh, you're going to kick to touch. Can you miss it, please?
True.
Or, like,
true.
There's been so many individual
errors. You can't play
errors.
for them.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. When selection comes out, right, and I'm sitting there going, are we really picking Elliot Daly again at this point? Like,
oh, man.
Who is just, look, Elliot Daly has been phenomenal for donkeys, right? But now he's a donkey. Like, that's it. Like, he doesn't need to be in this squad.
But one thing I'll give Elliot Daly as a saving grace. If for those listening, watch back Menoncello's acceleration into contact for that try. It's subhuman. It is unbelievable. I don't know what species he is, but he goes from a relative stand start to 100 miles an hour, and he absolutely implodes.
And I don't know if it was Panin or Marin who stopped Chesham. But Chesham's running. Okay, so there you go. Like, I'd say the same about Chesham. Chesham is 120 kgs of absolute. Like, you want to talk about a dog? I said we should have started him, right? Like, he is someone that is going to hurt him so much, right? Like, he is.
But I think we're confusing strength and power. He's strong. He's a bit of a horse, isn't he? Whereas you look at Menoncello, and I think that's the reality. We have to look at the positives of Italy. The game was crap for 65 minutes, really. It was a very low-skill game. And the one thing, again, sort of rounding off the breakdown, the one thing that's annoying me now more than anything, and the rule that needs to change, is when we kick it in the air, the no escorting rule now has prevented people from really sort of distracting or obstructing people to the ball carrier. But now, some teams, Wales included, aren't even attempting to catch the ball.
This whole pat in the air.
Roebuck was probably a good example of the opposite, but the Italian back 3 were trying to catch to collect. And now what you're seeing is that there is this volleyball game happening. And I think a real positive change that could be made, similar to the dead ball area, is you can't pat it. If you have to, and then the injuries will get less. If you have to kick to compete and you have to leap to compete, not just give it this big wallop, it'll change the dynamic of the game for the better.
I think it's funny, right? Because it's almost like, I love watching sevens. And obviously there was Vancouver on afterwards, which I just had on in the background when I was doing some work. That is the definition of compete high ball from kickoff repeatedly, right? Yeah. Like, you're talking about, 5 to 10 a match in 14 minutes every time. So you're watching these athletes come up and do it. And it's so funny. The word crumbs keep coming up in every single coaching interview at the moment, the crumbs on the floor. And it's almost like we focus so much on trying to get the scraps afterwards, we've actually forgotten that, well, if we catch the ball, we won't get the scraps.
There's not even an attempt for it, which infuriates me. And that would be, again, perfect segue to Super Rugby. That's the difference in Super Rugby. They are kicking and they are leaping to collect. And I saw Rassie saying it as well for the Springboks. We don't just bang it in the air and hoping to bat it back and make it the crumbs. We're kicking to collect. And I think Super Rugby this weekend, you saw a lot of it where they bang it across field, but they're trying to catch that ball. And I think that skill set needs to be created by putting laws around preventing doing the opposite.
It's so funny. Sean Edwards made a comment about the pitch being dry and the weather being good. It was all going to be a Super Rugby match. Oh my God, Super Rugby this weekend. Every year, Blues Crusaders for me is always like, like when I was 21, I lived in Auckland and I got to go see a Blues Crusaders match. And I got to see Perry Whippu, who ended up playing 10 for Blues on the day against DC Crusaders, right? And Blues won. And Auckland afterwards was popping. And now you've got Bowden Barrett coming back.
On fire as well.
Had some rest time. He ended up playing a full 80 as well. Man, incredible. It's incredible that he is still as good as that young kid I remember breaking through, man. Yeah. Like, what a talent. And then,
how old is Bodie now? 36,
he's 30, early 30s, but he's obviously just had another one as well, kids. D-Mac come back for Chiefs this week as well.
Yeah.
And again, D-Mac was everywhere. Like, man, there is... And obviously, look, we kind of spoke about it outside. This little kind of in the background, Mwanga coming back next year for the World Cup. He's still got to get ahead of him.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He is, and look, Japan rugby is very different, right? Like, it's getting a lot better since we started covering it, but like, it's still a very different level. He's still got to get ahead of these two.
The 10 debate has been a thing in New Zealand since Carter retired, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not, you have to look at it of a game of 80 minutes, and I think DMAC with some tired legs is probably better than a Richie Mo'unga on tired legs. And Bowden Barrett, I mean, that's just an embarrassment of riches that you can have, and you can pick and choose your game plan by your 10, and you can pick your game plan, like same as South Africa, right? They'll pick Polly for some games, they'll pick Sasha for some games. They have that ability to do that. It's a blessing. But I mean, Super Rugby in general this weekend, I mean, the Brumbies kind of shit the bed towards the end.
Yeah, so look, just getting on that as well, right? This is, again, kind of going back to that TMO decision. I don't understand what the brief is, right? Super Rugby have obviously come out this year and they're like, right, we're going to speed things up, a little bit more free kick in play, which was great, right? Like we saw it over the weekend. But when there's a try that's got an obvious knock-on in it,
Yeah.
go and check it.
Yeah.
What, like, we have to find this balance between the TMO being there and getting involved when the time is right, and then the rest of the time shutting up. But this is an obvious knock-on.
Yeah.
That has then cost the Brumbies the game. Now,
Yeah.
I like the Reds, and it's a good Aussie derby, and, we said about Les Kiss and his attacking play. Okay, it makes for drama, it gives us more content to write about. But come on, what is the job?
Yeah, and I like how the MLR have come out with a new sort of concept towards TMO, and I used to like the Captain's Challenge. I think that's a part of the game that we haven't really nailed just yet. But to your point, the criteria around, sometimes they will fine-tooth comb every single ruck for the last 5 minutes and try and find something. And then other times they just turn a blind eye, and the impact is huge, But yeah, I think if you're a neutral rugby fan, which by definition you have to be a neutral rugby fan at some point, it was an unbelievable weekend of amazing rugby highlights and moments and fairly historical things. I just hope for Super Rugby that, I don't feel that the crowds reflect the quality of product that's there. The Brumbies looked half empty, they're top and undefeated going into that game for a local derby. You'd assume the Stephen Larkham stand would be sold out, but it's just not. I don't know why, I don't know how, and it's a shame.
One quick shout out before we move on to our next section. Big shout out to Switzerland. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So
against the Germans?
Yeah, so look, a couple of weeks ago we said that they've gone from losing 73-0 last year, getting promoted from the trophy, but then, falling always against these bigger sides in Tier 2 in the Rugby Europe Championship. This game had the lead changed 9 times.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Germany
drama.
had a yellow card, they had a red card, I think the captain got sent off, and it was just back and forward. That second half was just back and forward, and honestly, like, the Rugby Europe Championship, we obviously work quite closely with them now. Some of these games are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, as we're filming later on, Spain and Portugal is another big rivalry that's developing in Europe. So, look, we saw a while now, Six Nations took a risk on Italy. And it took a while, right? But now look. And it was so funny, just quickly on this, listening to Conor O'Shea during the week. Conor O'Shea said, he was on a Rugby Weekly special, he was like, when he went in there, he sat with Parise and he was like, look, we're going to take some arse kickings, but it's not about us. If we sit here in 5 years' time and we're looking and we're going, now look, at what point are we going to say, the Spains, the Portugals, the Georgias, and again, Rugby Nation Championship, Nations Cup, they're saying they're going to put a promotion relegation in 2030. That's enough time for them to change their mind on that, right? We'll see how much money's involved and then go from there. But
yeah, look, I think Italy's a good example of a nation, they're sort of sitting in the shade of a tree that Conor O'Shea planted 10 years ago. And that's an amazing thing. But I also think that, on a much smaller scale, we played for an emerging nation over here. And realistically, I think even Rugby Europe, up until the last 5 or 6 years, they'd look like the Shags. They'd be the plumbers, the bakers, the barbers that were working in town. They'd play for their national team, similar to what we did. But now, my friend Wardy was there at the Swiss game, and he was like, the Germans are huge. Yeah. Like, they're a professional outfit. And I think you're looking at a generation away from them being sort of tier ones, quote unquote. But in order for a sport to flourish, you need a competitive second tier. And that is really where rugby has suffered internationally and domestically. So there isn't a second tier in Wales, and Argentina haven't got a first tier. So we go back to your point about Italy. They've made it work with just 2 clubs, but they've heavily invested in their second tier and their academies and their pathways. So the 2 clubs are kind of not irrelevant, but they're not as relevant.
It's the show pony.
Exactly. So really, a good second tier will make rugby succeed, and I'm so happy for Rugby Europe to be so good, but they're still a generation away from being taken too seriously.
Well, look, let's move on now. We've spoke about the rugby on the pitch. Obviously, producer Simon isn't with us in the studio. He has been in Australia, and whilst he was down in Australia, he got to enjoy not only going on the pitch, but obviously everything that Sydney has to offer as well. So this week's All Things Rugby Home and Away, take it away.
Sydney, Australia, you absolute ripper. We're here, it is Friday night, it's the Tars taking on the Hurricanes in Super Rugby. I'm Simon, that's my mate Graham. We decided to meet up at the Woollahra in Paddo, which is the Waratahs official pre-match boozer. And since I'm doing this for All Things Rugby, it was obviously going to be a Guinness. And you have to split the G. Look at that, nailed it first time. This is not my first rodeo. After a little beer, we decided that it was a lovely evening, so we thought, let's jump on a line bike and cycle down there, burn off that Guinness and the other pints that we definitely were having that night. There's lots going on outside the ground for fans, so we decided to throw a ball into a hole. Graham definitely proving that he was a little bit more equipped for this than me. We decided I need a little bit of stash to make sure I was wearing my colours. We checked out the jerseys, but it was actually the scarf for me. Wrapped up warm, even though it was 30 degrees. A little bit of scran, some great food on offer in the tunnel suite before heading out onto the pitch in iconic Allianz Stadium. It really is one to behold. Fortunately, the Tars gave us access to the pitch. They gave me a flag, look at me go. And we decided to stay on the pitch and welcome some superheroes before the Hurricanes took to the field. And we felt the atmosphere definitely shift gears as the Waratahs took to the field. Graham absolutely loving it, and me fanboying as I met the Waratahs mascots.
Go on the Tars!
I must say, history has not been kind to the Tars in this fixture. Hurricanes always coming out on top. But the game started well, with both teams really looking good. And the Waratahs got a couple of tries in the first half, with the man, inform Aussie, Jorgensen, going over in the corner. They didn't make much difference to the Hurricanes, who were responding with tries of their own.
Good first half. Waratahs were definitely on the back foot, but there's a big second half coming. I've had to log on to the rugby app to check what the score is. 17-12 at half time to the Hurricanes. It's going to be a big second half, and I can't wait to see it.
And it was a good second half, but not for the Tars. The Hurricanes really showing why they are a world-class outfit and why they constantly win this fixture whenever they come over here to Australia. As you can see in the rugby app, they just kept ticking that score over.
It looks like the game is over. It is well and truly over. I think that puts it at 59 points to 19. The Hurricanes have absolutely dominated this game.
So it wasn't to be for Tars as fans started to leave the stadium early, but the fans that did stick around to clap the players after the game were rewarded with a few signed balls from the players and of course a few selfies with the winning team for those travelling fans from New Zealand. We had a quick word with Geordie Barrett, but unfortunately the microphone broke. And that was it for me and Graham. The Tars didn't win, but it was a great day and we really enjoyed ourselves before carrying on the night in Sydney. Thanks for watching. This is Simon and All Things Rugby.
Yeah, fair enough, Simon. We leave you alone for a couple of weeks in Australia and you end up being pitch side with Geordie Barrett. Yeah, at one point I thought Simon was going to get his boots on. But yeah, apologies for the audio quality. It did sound like Simon was underwater at some point, but that's probably just the amount of... What's an Australian beer? Tooheys? Foster's?
Well, definitely not Foster's.
No?
But,
Castlemaine? 4X, mate?
I did see a little cheeky video of him necking a Guinness as well. So
the universal beer.
Yeah,
Guinness. Again,
it's definitely not the same down under. That's all I'm saying.
They do a match day well. I know Simon obviously got sort of a backstage pass to it, and but I lived in Sydney for 18 months, and they do a match day well, which to my point is why it's such a shame that it's not so popular in places like Canberra. But good on Simon. Good that he got the full experience.
Yeah. Well, look, let's move on to our socials that we had this week, and let's stay with Super Rugby to kind of wrap this up. And we obviously mentioned the Reds getting a last-minute win against the Brumbies. Our first clip is from the Reds social media team. Now, I'm loving this, right? Because, again, beginning of the season, it was a lot of between Sarries and Quins, and, a lot of teams now, we saw them take the mick out of the Red Bull cans. It's now gone down under as well.
Right.
So the Reds have just put out a clip.
Call an ambulance, but not for me.
Yeah, I think the Australians are one of the best piss takers in general. Even their TV and their radio in Australia is it's always a piss take. So yeah, that's what gets audiences in, making it fun, making it rivalries, and having a good bit of crack with it. But yeah, that's a brilliant bit of stuff.
So moving on to our second one this week, talking about, again, that light-hearted taking the piss. Tui Pelotu. He's come back around now.
Yeah, well, we called it at the time. Again, not saying that we spotted it and nobody else did, but that sort of attempted hug when they got the Calcutta Cup, we spotted it straight away as like a really awkward moment.
Old Alliance Trophy. Do you know what? They knew what.
But shout out to Tui Pelotu. That's the great thing about even him. He's got that sort of Aussie banter as well. Not a dig about him being Australian, but he has a good. You can tell that people adore him as well as they'd fight for him as well. But yeah, that sort of arms out to hug Princess, and God bless her as well. She gave it a good bit of crack as well. So that's awesome.
So arms out, Lewis Moody.
And Lewis Moody.
Yeah, well,
Lewis Moody had his arms out all right.
Well, we at one point we were going to go along for this away day. I think they did they charter a flight to a weekend in Rome with Lewis Moody. Look, I told you last week when I watched the Ben Youngs documentary, there's a moment in that documentary which is really hard hitting when they're talking about Mad Dog's diagnosis, and really it's a brutal, debilitating disease that he's battling with. So seeing him be able to take a moment away, get stuck in, and just be the Lewis Moody that everyone loves, it's a really heartwarming thing. And I bet that weekend is still going on and still messy.
Yeah, I would need a few more days to recover after that. And look, we obviously mentioned how brutal this game is, and it can be. England Rugby this week invited Thomas Tuchel into training. And look, I give all my football friends enough stick, so I'm going to leave it. But I think he was a little bit surprised at just how hard they're hitting each other in training. So let's just quickly watch this one.
For the audio listeners, I mean, seeing two England fans, they're essentially, two England coaches, they're sat ringside to tackle practice at England Rugby. So the usual sort of marching in with the bag at your legs and chop tackling, and they look like they're watching a murder take place. They are head in hands in genuine shock and dismay. So I'm hoping they went back to football camp at England and said, "You boys are overpaid." I went to see a couple of guys getting paid 25 grand, knocking the chocolate out of each other, and you guys are on 100 grand a week.
Yeah, and then the England football team will go, "What was the result after that?"
Yeah.
And look, talking about the result, the last one for the week, it popped up on my phone that a couple of players I follow were going live, and I was like straight onto it. But this is Menoncello and Canoni on the bus, live streaming from different parts of the bus, singing along, having a drink and having a good time. So.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, I love the fact that you have to celebrate your wins, especially when you've been on the receiving end of some hidings like they have. And that's the bit, you speak to any rugby player at any level, the thing they miss the most isn't the game itself, it's the bit before and definitely the bit after. So, yeah, I hope much pizza, much pasta and much Peroni was consumed in the hours that followed last night.
I can imagine that they've hit it quite hard. But again, look, they said afterwards on comms that, like, yes, they celebrated, but there was this little bit of, no, we should win this as well.
Expectation, man. That's the next thing.
So, look, a little bit different. We do have a Rassie Watch this week.
Okay.
But it's from him actually being a I say semi-normal. This week was the South African Rugby Awards.
Okay.
And again, I've taken a little bit of heat online because obviously they've celebrated. They had their Young Player of the Year. Shout out to Ethan Hook, who's been class. They had Player of the Year. Sia won a Lifetime Achievement Award for what he does. And Rassie won Coach of the Year.
Of course.
Now, I made a joke saying, well, of course, Springboks won Team of the Year in the South African Rugby Awards. I understand there's the Blitz box and the Women box, but I mean, come on.
There's that classic meme of, is it Obama putting a medal on himself? No, I found out, I was reminded, I don't know why it was not in my head, by my mother this week that my grandmother's maiden name was Erasmus. So now I am on a personal mission to discover that maybe, just maybe, am I related to Rassie Erasmus?
Well, I think the fact that you've wore every other shirt so far.
Uncle Rassie.
There's a couple of South African shirts around the studio, so.
Well, I'm going to get some 23andMe. I'm going to map out my lineage and try and find Uncle Johan Erasmus somewhere between Newport and Cape Town.
I don't know if I want that or not, because obviously like it's hilarious if it happens. But then the fact that when you're about to lose 70-0 again, you can just...
But I can support my uncle. My great uncle Johan.
You can rugby guy it and just change shirt halfway through. All right, so as we wrap up with this week's rugby, let's move on to a little bit of trivia and some challenges.
Finally, a bit of light-hearted games and fun, my favourite bit of every week. I've got a few good ones for you this week. And basically on topic of the weekend's actions, you're going to need some support. I think you're going to struggle on the first one in particular. So, I want you to name the top 5 most binned Six Nations players. So this is yellows and reds, and yellows and reds are counted the same, just the amount of cards. And I'll give you the nationalities to give you a nudge. Number 1 is Scottish, current player.
And he's been playing?
He's playing right now. I'll give you one guess and I'll give you the answer.
Jamie Ritchie.
Finn Russell is number 1 with 4 yellows and 1 red. He's the most binned player ever in the Six Nations.
What?
Number 2 is Welsh. He's not playing anymore. He was a fullback. I referenced him earlier.
Halfpenny?
No. Ganglia. Bomb disposal.
Oh, Liam Williams.
Liam Williams.
I can see that.
Liam Williams, 5 yellows. Third is a French prop. Arabic, sort of Moroccan Tunisian prop.
Oh.
Punched Jamie Ritchie in the face in Scotland.
I'm going to have to give up because his name's gone.
Mohamed Hawass. He had 2 yellows and 2 reds.
I think he also got a little bit of personal going on as well.
2 yellows, 2 reds, and a bit of time inside. Yeah. I think that's what he got.
Yeah.
Number 4 is an Irish legendary back rower, just retired. Think of a scrapper.
Mr. O'Mahony.
Peter O'Mahony, 3 yellows and 1 red. And number 5 is also Irish, but he's a scrum half.
Not Stringer.
Generation after Stringer, just retired recently. Retired along with O'Mahony.
Mr. Conor Murray.
Conor Murray, 4 yellows.
Yeah, the Finn Russell one's a funny one because I can imagine him cheeky smiling, going off to sit in the sin bin, right?
I thought Mara would be in there.
Oh, well, listen, after the last couple of weeks, they probably will be next year.
So you've got Paul Willemse, who was 6th, Marco Riccioni, who's 7, Gethin Jenkins, 8, Barkley, 9, and Martin Castrogiovanni, 10, all with 3 cards each.
God, if you tell Giovanni after a beard that Finn Russell's ahead of him,
Isn't
he'll
that crazy?
come out of retirement to come play and get a card.
It blew my mind.
Right, well, look, I moaned a lot about England losing.
Yes, you did.
And I stick by it, right?
Right.
But seeing as you're in an Italian top,
Vincero.
we've got a little Italian Six Nations trivia for you. So I've got a couple of questions for you.
This should be easy.
Well, I think you'll be surprised. Question number 1. Italy are obviously on for their highest finish. They finished 4th twice before.
Okay.
In 07 and in 13. In 07, they beat Wales and Scotland.
Shock.
In 13, who are the 2 teams they beat?
Was it France and Ireland?
France and Ireland.
It was, yeah?
Yeah.
Ah, see, knowledge. I told you I was the smartest guy on this thing. That is knowledge.
I mean, what a record, though.
That was that O'Driscoll's last game?
Probably.
I think it was, right?
13, yeah.
Brutal.
Okay, so going in, obviously they're on a little bit of a roll at the moment. They have got 18 wins total.
Okay.
Can you name who their biggest chunk of wins have come against?
I would assume Scotland.
Why would you assume Scotland?
I don't know. Just my gut. Is it Scotland?
It is.
Yeah.
Out of 18, half of them.
No way.
Yeah.
To be Scotland, probably Scotland, Wales, then France, then England.
Ireland and England with one each. I suppose, obviously, in a chunk of that time, you lot were decent.
Yeah. That helps as well. Wow.
Couple more for you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Gonzalo Quesada, obviously, has come through.
Yeah.
And he's, killing it for them. Do you know who he played for internationally?
He's Argentinian, wasn't he?
He was Argentinian.
Yeah.
He was top point scorer in the 1999 Rugby World Cup
Was he really?
with 102 points.
Well, I think Sergio Parise is actually Argentinian, right, as well. There's a bit of an Argentinian link there with Italy. But the good thing about Quesada is that he apparently is not struggling, but he's appearing to learn the language, but he's nailed the hand gestures.
He did
You
his
see him in the box.
first ever meeting in Italian.
Did he really?
How good is that?
I heard Finn and Ben White speaking French, by the way, on the broadcast. Now that was impressive.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, they're both getting paid enough. Okay, so he finished top point scorer in 1999.
Wow.
So back when you were 35 watching this. Can you name the other 4 to round out the top 5?
Top 5 point scorers in 1999 World Cup.
Yeah.
Dear me.
I'm going to give you some clues along the way.
Okay. Christophe Lamezon.
No. Okay, so 1999, second place,
Yeah.
just 1 point behind, Australian,
Would it be Larkham? Burke?
Matty Burke.
Yeah.
In third place, former Springbok.
Former Springbok.
Well, I mean, this is going back a while now. I don't know if you'll get this one.
Not De Beer.
Yeah? Oh, fair.
Yanni De Beer.
Yeah.
I'm on fire.
I'm telling you, man.
You're impressed. Go on, tell me you're impressed.
Anything outside of the last 2 years in rugby. Or next time I'm going to do a Harlequins one. Number 4, All Black.
Who would have been the kicker then for the All Blacks?
Big commentary career after as well.
Have to tell me, I can't remember his name.
Andrew Martins.
Andrew Mertens. Oh, sorry, Mertz.
And then number 5, would have been very young at the time. Actually, probably would have been second choice fly half for England.
Second choice, not Johnny.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Yeah.
99.
Yeah. And after Jenkins.
Yeah. And Neil Jenks, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get very far.
So
Nice.
I hope that you get this one because, I mean, this is the easiest one, I reckon.
Yeah.
Seeing as you are just half Italian now. So you've got South African in you, Welsh, obviously. There's a little bit of English in there as well.
Not the Benny.
The Italian national anthem.
Oh, God.
One that you were going to open the show
Bam.
with.
Ba-da-bam. Ba-da-bam, bam, 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 bam.
Now, excuse my Italian,
Yeah.
but siam pronto alla morte
Okay.
is the words that are repeated in the chorus.
Okay.
Do you know what they mean?
Dalla Morte means till you die, I guess.
We are ready for death.
What?
Now, we want to talk about getting up for a game and crying before. If I'm standing there and I've got 40,000 Italians looking at me and I'm screaming, I am ready for death.
I mean, if England want to change up the old God Save the
God.
King, I'm ready to die.
God
might
save
actually-
the king versus I am ready to die.
Yeah, the chips are stacked against you from the off.
Well done.
Thanks very much. I'm actually quite impressed with myself. I'm gutted that I didn't get Andrew Mertens. I was thinking of somebody else. I was thinking of Grant Fox maybe. I'm a bit too far back.
I'm going to have to go back and just watch like the 1999 World Cup all the way through. You coming into the office today? Nah, busy. Research.
I'm happy with that. I thought I did quite well. Right, we'll go first. So the next thing that we've tried to do is this or that as far as Dream Team Six Nations at the moment, going into the last weekend. You want to go first with the forwards?
Yeah, obviously start off with the big boys, seeing as they're taking all the headlines this week.
So this or that, you get 2 options. So I've got 2 options for you for the backs. You've got 2 options for me for the forwards, and we'll pick our dream team based on so far.
Okay, number 1, Fischetti or Carey?
Oh, I'm going to go Fischetti, only because, and I shout out Rhys Carey. Fischetti just because he's 80-minute man, and he's been a props prop for the tournament so far.
He really has been. At hooker, Julien Marchand or Dowie Lake?
I go Dewi Lake. In a team going forward, he'd be world class.
My favourite player this tournament, Ferrari or Furlong?
100% Ferrari. Ask Furlong's... I'm not going to say what I was going to say then. Ask Furlong who he'd vote for. He'd vote for Ferrari as well.
Okay, going into the second row. Canone or Olivon?
I go Canone. That's harsh as well. Olivon was class the first couple of weeks, but Canone's been solid.
Yeah. Okay, well, other side. Gouliard or Scott Cummins?
I'd probably go Scott Cummings. That's going to be really unpopular. That's personal bias.
I'm trying not to argue with you as well.
I think he's been awesome. Awesome.
Okay, going into the back row.
I'd probably go Daft Jenkins, just saying. In the team going forward.
Yeah.
But I'll take Scott
Hasn't won a
Cummings.
game yet though, has he? Number 6. Lamaro or Jack Conan?
Lamaro. As good as Jack Conan's been, he hasn't played every game. But Lamaro, man, I would run over a broken glass for that guy.
Okay, open side. Rory Darge, Ben Earl.
Rory Darge. And I love Ben Earl.
I know.
But as a 7, Rory Darge, massive
I've
moments.
struggled to get English players in here as well.
Massive moments, Rory Darge.
Okay, last one. Number 8. Jack Dempsey, phenomenal. Or Wainwright.
I mean, I think Aaron Wainwright he's our generation's Sergio Parisse. He's been so good in a team getting stuffed. He's been so good, but you can't argue with Jack Dempsey. Yeah. He's been shit hot as well. Him not being injured for that game on the weekend was a big game changer for them. So I'll give it to Dempsey. Right, over to you. Backline. Pretty straightforward. Number 9, DuPont or JGP?
DuPont.
Just straight up DuPont?
Straight up DuPont.
Even over the weekend?
I think DuPont is still the best player of all time.
Oh, okay.
Gibson Park is not ripping that ball off to you.
True. He's also not throwing a quarterback pass in the dead ball. Finn or Garbisi?
Finn.
Yeah, straight up.
Finn, man. Finn's the guy.
Bro, imagine DuPont and Finn as halfbacks.
Scotland.
Up at Scotland. LBB or Kyle Stain?
Oh, LBB. Kyle Stain's been great, but LBB is phenomenal.
Just X factor. 12. Menoncello or Tui Pelotu? That's tough. Tui Pelotu arguably in the form of his life.
I said last week, and I love a big crash 12. But Menoncello can do that as well. Oh, Menoncello is the best 12 in the world at the moment.
He's on another level.
Outside of Geordie Barrett.
Very different players. Right, 13. Deportier or Hugh Jones? Now that is tough. There wasn't many 13s to pick from, to be fair, but those two are on fire.
Yeah, Deportier's class. But Hugh Jones is backing it up, and he's worn a Quinn shirt.
Imagine Hugh Jones outside of Menoncello. That's a handsome centre partner as well, by the way. Just saying. Brownie points for being studs.
Yeah. Did you see the... I'll get to it after, but...
Go on, Hugh Jones or Deportier? Jones?
Jones.
Adesogbe or Balakoon? Now that's a tough one.
Imagine if Balakoon got his shot earlier.
He's old, right? He's in his 30s.
Yeah.
Say old. Fuck, who am I to say he's old?
Adesogbe.
And fullback, to me, only really one contender, but I had to pick 2. Ramos or Kinghorn?
Oh, it's got to be Ramos. Kinghorn did have a good game, but I think Ramos is, again, like, probably people don't realise just how good he is. In a team full of superstars, he is that good.
And just dead-eye dick with the kicking right, doesn't miss.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I would say is Italy put out a post a couple of weeks ago, and it was a tattoo artist in Italy who only took pictures of the guys in the Italy team with their tops off with tattoos. And you've got like Menoncello there, you've got Montiuani there, and I'm like, and every single female I know would like this post. And I was just like, guys, you've just killed us.
Look, whatever it takes to get more bums on seats, let the boys play.
Well, up step Reece Carey, right? Our post that did the best over the weekend of everything was the guy she told you not to worry about.
True.
Okay, well look, here's both of our favourite part of the week.
Right.
Going through and reflecting on what we have discussed.
The predictions.
Oh God, you've got last week's predictions there?
Yep, so we went, I went, in fairness, I think I was pretty bang on with game 1. I said that we would be within touching distance at half-time, then we'd be pulled away. I said Ireland by 11, they won by 10. You said Ireland by 21, so that's a big W for me. France, I said France by 17. Ugh. and you said France by a score. So both absolutely shit.
No, I win that. I haven't had a lot, right?
Was it 50-40 in the end?
Right,
Yeah, I'll give you that.
You can say that I lose the least in that one. There you go.
Dave, I said England by 15 for the for the Italy game, and you said England by 24 for the Italy game.
God.
I think both of us deserve zero credit for any of those predictions, but I'm so glad we were wrong. Genuinely,
It made
sounds
for
ridiculous.
a great weekend.
Scotland getting 50 and the Italians winning, amazing.
Great round.
Right, Super Saturday, looking forward. Let's go to our final round of getting predictions wrong for 1 Six Nations.
Let's just quickly talk about what can happen.
Okay.
So obviously we're going to talk about what we think the scores will be, but 3 teams can win it.
Yep. Jeopardy.
So Ireland, Scotland is obviously whoever comes out of that puts himself in the big position, right? But then obviously France playing England, it's in their hands at home.
Yeah,
if a team has gone into the last day playing at home,
it's theirs to lose, really, you'd imagine. And I think if Wales beat Italy by 50 and France beat England by 50, then we come 5th and England come 6th.
Oh, my God.
Believe that. Ted Lasso. Believe.
Right, so we're going to open up with Ireland at home to Scotland. Now, I said this was going to be the game of the tournament, and it's, don't get me wrong, Italy-Wales now is looking like a right little cinema special, but this is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, the first of 3 perfect matchups for the weekend. Man, I don't know. I really don't know. I almost don't want to predict.
Draw.
It's going to be 3 draws, yeah. I think it's in Murrayfield.
No.
It's in Dublin. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Yeah, I think Ireland will sneak it. And I don't care either way. I hope it is the game of the tournament, but I think Ireland by 4.
I don't know if I can take Ireland winning. You got Ireland?
Ireland by 4.
Right, let's have some fun with this. I am backing Scotland.
Okay.
Genuinely backing Scotland, right? My hot take, do you remember it?
No.
Scotland was going to finish above Ireland.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
So I'm saying that Scotland will win this. Like we've always said, like you've especially always said, Ireland, down to the ref.
Down to the ref. One good ref away from losing, yeah.
So look, as we've gone for opposites, and I think the next one might be opposites as well.
Scotland by?
Are we going to score?
Ireland by 4.
Scotland by 12. I think, again, I haven't seen who's going to ref
So
it.
at least one of us will be right.
That's why I said we don't even need to score. We just
Some credibility.
Just coin flip it. I think this is going to be a cracker.
Me too. All right.
Oh, confidence, man.
Game 2.
Game 2. Lead it out, mate.
Look, I'm going to go with my heart. I think Wales are going to come up with something. I hope someone like Costello is fit, so we have a bit of a general playing 10. But man, we just need it so badly. And Italy, they were I'm going to go Wales by. I'll go Wales by 4 as well, and we'll sneak it.
Did you just see what Italy did to England?
I did, only in the last 10, 15 minutes, obviously, but I thought that game was bang average. I thought the skill level was poor. I thought England were poor, but I thought Italy were great in places they needed to be. But Wales, there's just so much desperation. And like you said, if this was 4 weeks ago, they couldn't. The amount of adverts that I got for tickets for the Millennium Stadium, and now it's like people want to go, they want to get behind them. You saw what it was like in Scotland. Yeah, my heart says Wales by 4. My head says it could be. I'm going Wales by 4. I'm sticking with it.
So for the record, you're wearing an England top, an Italy top, and you're saying next week Italy are going to lose.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, I'm going to go with Italy,
Of course.
and I think it will be tough. I think it will be close. I think you guys are obviously getting better week on week. That we're not. I think Italy are going to carry this on. I think England are going to take a little dumping, and I think Italy are going to get their highest ever finish.
Wow. Look,
This is history for them, man.
I wouldn't hate it. Even as a Welsh fan, I wouldn't hate that. And it's just, I just feel, emotion-wise, that the romantic in me wants Wales to actually get a dub at home last game. Because then we've got a couple of months of optimism, you know? Italy have got a couple of years of optimism now on the back of last week. So, Wales by 4, Italy by
9.
9. Nice. And Le Crunch. They can't lose in that jersey, France. That baby blue
it's
jersey
beautiful.
is a beauty.
Beautiful.
Go on.
France by 30.
Are you really?
Oh, mate. You think we're going to turn up after what we've just seen the
France
last
by
couple of weeks?
30.
I think France are going to... that the worst thing that ever happened to England is Scotland just doing what they did, right?
Yeah.
France are going to go absolute ham against England.
30 is a massive points difference.
I think they've done it before. They did it at Twickenham.
I'm not saying that, but you know, look, you two wounded animals, you'd hope, and if England just sort of, you know, tuck their tail between their legs, that'd be extremely disappointing. I think then, you know, I know you say it's sort of, you know, commercially not viable to get rid of Borthwick, but if they get their pants pulled down, 30-point difference.
You have to ask the question.
100%. No, I think France will win. I'll go France by 16.
Let me just give you this little thought, right? He's just made 9 changes. I think it's the joint most changes someone's ever made in the Six Nations going round to round.
Right.
And then you lose for the first time in your history to Italy. And then you're going to go, okay, well, do I stick with the team that just lost to Italy for the first time ever? Or do I go back to the boys that I dropped beforehand? Like, okay, Ollie Lawrence might be back. Put him in. Other than that,
I'm getting serious Lancaster vibes from the England squad at the moment. There appears to be this sort of eye rolling that goes on. You have to make changes. But if you go from 9 changes to 6, 7 changes, then look, yeah, I agree with you. France are going to come out firing. France, I think, are going to win. But if England lose by 30, then the question has to be asked about the coach.
Yeah, massively. And again, this is my only saving grace with it, right? Because of the way that Nation Championship is now as well, you've got enough time to have a stinker. Have the stinker now, go into Nations Championship, rebuild, go into next year's Six Nations, pretty set, and then go for the World Cup in a good position.
Opening game of New Zealand, right?
Oh, we've got South Africa.
Have you got New Zealand? I think
we've got the next 2 games, considering what's just happened, right? Yeah. So we've just lost Calcutta Cup.
Yeah.
Awful performance.
Carbonara Cup.
Ireland beat the hell out of us, right? Yeah. Lose to Italy for the first time ever. Take on last year's Six Nations champions and then go take on the back-to-back world champions. Oh my God. France by 30. Might even be more.
All right. Let's see. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. The best day of the Northern Hemisphere rugby calendar. So let's hope it goes as advertised.
Well, that's it for another week.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
A lot of chat, a lot of, loved it. As always, loved it.
And obviously, we have an amazing Saturday to look forward to.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. And let's see what jersey I wear next weekend. Hopefully a French one. You never know.
Once again, thank you all for watching. The numbers have been great. The comments have been coming in. And whether you are enjoying the show or just watching to take the piss out of me and Fordy.
Or just shitting on our predictions.
we appreciate it. So obviously, jump onto all of our socials to stay up during the week with everything that's happening. If you haven't already, download the Rugby app, as all of our journalists are writing reviews on the games, predictions of the games for themselves as well. And of course, like and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Music and anywhere else that you are watching or listening to this.
Clip my angel wings, I told the